in Oldham at the moment, the evidence shows us that there is not an overwhelming influx of HMOs in any given area of the borough. So there is no evidence to say that HMOs of that size, up to 6 bedrooms, and the permitted development right to convert to them is causing harm anywhere in the borough.
This is the site located on Norfolk Crescent in Failsworth. These are the property photographs that were taken on the 30th of November. These images show the front, rear and the rear elevations with the neighbour at number 3. You'll see from the plans that there's 6 bedrooms proposed with a joint lounge and kitchen area, and there's also 5 bathrooms proposed, 3 bedrooms downstairs here, and then the remaining bedrooms upstairs here, and then there's a few rooms that have also got en suites.
Thanks. Could you just remind us how many bathrooms you said again? I missed that.
You've got an ensuite here. Oh, that serves the kitchen area. You've got an ensuite here. You've got 2 ensuites at the top, so it is 5.
Okay, so I get fully that this is being presented as a dwelling house. It looks to me as though they're trying to do something else by subterfuge here, and I fully get that there's not a great deal we can do about it in current planning law.
Yes, just to before I ask my question, just to give Councillor Bassett some information. If the council implemented Article 4, which I believe they should do, then there would be recourse to, if this would going to be developed further to an HMO, which it could suggest, then that would be a course of action we could take. Unfortunately, as the Oldham controlled administration haven't chosen to do that, that's blocked that one off. My concern here is, this is from what I can see, is a property that's already been developed in some way. So it's had extensions previous to its original design. So I'm concerned by these additional alterations, extensions, etc. It goes beyond permitted development rights.
Councillor Akhtar.
Just a point of order, Chair, because I would like to remind Councillor Hinds that planning is a non-political committee of the council, and the controlling group has no say. It's not whipped or anything like that. It has no say on in terms of how we determine planning applications, and it's wrong of him to say that, and he should retract his statement.
I refuse to retract my statement because it's a matter of fact.
Can I ask that you retract your statement, please?
You're asking me to refuse a matter, withdraw something that's a matter of fact.
Because it's, like Councillor Akhtar said, it's a non-whipped planning committee, and each application is based on the facts before us and not on a political agenda.
On that, then, I will withdraw that statement of fact.
Thank you.
Could I just, the issue of Article 4, I think it's very important because that might come up a few times tonight. I wonder if the head of planning could describe to us or explain as briefly and as succinctly as you can exactly what is required for any local authority to bring in an Article 4 direction.
In terms of what an Article 4 direction is, it is a mechanism by which a local authority can seek to remove permitted development rights over a particular aspect. So, for example, if we have a conservation area and we're concerned that certain permitted development rights that would normally apply would harm the heritage value of that conservation area, we can seek to apply an Article 4 direction to remove those permitted development rights. Likewise, as I'm assuming is the reason for the question tonight, in terms of HMOs, it is permitted development to convert a house to a HMO of up to 6 people. If there is clear, robust evidence that such permitted development is causing harm in a specific geographical area, a council can seek to employ an Article 4 direction to remove that permitted development right within that specific geographical area. In terms of where we're at in Oldham at the moment, the evidence shows us that there is not an overwhelming influx of HMOs in any given area of the borough, so there is no evidence to say that HMOs of that size, up to 6 bedrooms, and the permitted development right to convert to them is causing harm anywhere in the borough, And in that situation, we cannot justify an Article 4 direction which would remove the permitted development rights. This is a house order application for an extension to a house. Whether that was approved or not, an owner of this house would be able to convert it to a HMO of up to 6 people, whether it's the existing house or an extended house, and that is permitted development.
Overlooking onto neighbouring properties to the rear. The design is in keeping with the character of the property and also neighbouring dwellings who have almost identical house extensions already built over the years. Just to note, there are approximately 38 two-storey house extensions within 200 yards of the site and a total of 18 extensions that are identical to our proposal put forward. I'd like to reiterate that this application is a regular householder application. However, I'd like to also highlight that the applicant would have permitted development rights for the property to be used for another purpose, even HMO, if necessary in the future.
I wonder if the agent could say, what is the does the applicant intend to turn this into an HMO?
Councillor Bashforth, is not relevant to the application, so if you can
Okay,
make it relevant to the application on hand, please. Thank you.
Okay. Why, is there a particular reason why you've got so many bathrooms?
It's a client's request.
Right, Councillor Davis.
Councillor Bashforth asked the same question that I was going to ask. Is there intention to turn this property into an HMO? Now, it's got HMO written all over it as far as I'm concerned. It's more of a statement, this.
If you can ask a question to the applicant, that's the section that we're on tonight.
The question is, you want to get on with your your neighbours. We all want to get on with our neighbours. Now, a great way to get on with your neighbours would be to say, I don't want to make this into an HMO. Would you like to do that?
So just to reiterate, it's not relevant to the application on hand. It's about the extension, not about what can potentially happen in the future.
I mean, you're the chair, you have the final say, you tell me what to do, but I still think, that the applicant could do that to be able to get on. I'm just saying it would be a good idea, and he'd get on really well but with his neighbours if he ruled out potential for HMO. That's not, I think that'd be a good thing if it had happened.
I understand you want assurances, Councillor Davis, but it's not relevant to the application. And what is relevant to the application is the fact that he wants to do an extension on his property, and that is the matter that we are discussing here tonight. Thank you. Councillor Hinds.
Thank you, Chair. I'm finding it extremely difficult to contain me rage about this, really. I think we're being hoodwinked, if the truth be known. And trust from a developer point of view is very important. So obviously I'm asking the developer's representative, should the public in this area trust your intentions with this development?
Councillor Hinds, just 1 second, please. I'm going to bring Peter into this.
Councillors, we're here to focus on the planning merits of this application. It is not relevant to
It might not be to you with respect, but it is to them.
You're a member of the committee, Councillor Hinds. You're a member of the planning committee.
I'm a member of the community.
You are as well, but while you're sat here, you're a member of the planning committee, and you have to work within the planning regulatory functions that are set nationally. Okay, so at this point in time, we can't consider what may happen in the future. It's not relevant to talk about the character or anything else of the applicant. We are here to consider a householder application, okay? And that's what...
I apologise. I will not bring up such things such as the developer previously being convicted for a £90,000 cannabis growing scheme and was sentenced to 32 months in prison.
Yeah, Councillor Hinds, that is not relevant to the application. Can I ask you to retract your words, please?
Once again, I retract that statement of fact.
I'd just like to say thanks for bringing this case forward as well. What I basically put together in the last few days is everything that the residents have asked me to ask on their behalf, so please bear with me. It'll be about 10 minutes, I think. And I've got to start by saying that all the residents that are either here tonight or watching at home believe this application is a wolf in sheep's clothing. By submitting this application under the guise of a family home extension at this stage, the developer is trying to pull a fast one by using a loophole in the application system, and we are all of the opinion it will indeed become an HMO with up to 11 unrelated people living in the property. This has caused undue anxiety for many residents and has affected their mental health due to the worry that the future will bring, making them lose sleep, not eat, and even worries it will put them in an early grave through stress. The amended plans submitted now show 3 bedrooms downstairs with access to a bathroom from bedroom 1 and a shared ensuite directly from the kitchen for the other 2 bedrooms, meaning occupants of bedroom 2 would have to walk down the hallway into the kitchen, and those in bedroom 3 would have to walk through the small kitchen diner to get to the bathroom, which doesn't afford much privacy for any future tenants. These bedrooms are more in keeping with bed and breakfast accommodation, not for long-term living. In the amended plans, there is no living area. It just shows, if you look on the plan, it shows a kitchen and a small dining table with 4 seats around it. Now, considering that the builder originally told a neighbour that himself, his wife and their 18-month child will be living in the house, these plans are not conducive with the modern idea of a family home if he does not intend to incorporate a living room. You see, it seems rather economical with the truth, as one of the online objections notes that company's house website shows his company is linked to Norfolk Crescent, and the nature of their business is a letting real estate. There is nothing illegal about this, but his underhanded approach has unsettled the entire neighbourhood, as he stated that it was for personal use. At this stage, I'd like to note that the property had a previous ground floor extension, which we have mentioned. I've done some research with planning and building regulations and found out this morning that this was built in 1992. However, planning don't hold records this far back. And one of my residents asked the question, has an accurate scaled calculation been carried out by the planning department, as there don't seem to be enough calculations on the plan submitted for 1 Norfolk Crescent to check if it would comply with the 50% rule of permitted development, which is to look at the area on the plot not covered by the original house. And if the area covered by the new extensions plus the area covered by the existing extensions is more than 50% of that originally uncovered area, then the rule may have been exceeded. Based on the footprint of the adjoining house, of which one of the residents kindly did some measurements and calculations for me, it shows the original footprint to be around 19.5 feet by 17.5 feet. I would hope, of course, that the planning department are looking at this to see if this is appropriate, and I'd like you to confirm this later if possible. I'd like to also to refer to points made within the 67 comments on the planning application, many of which reiterate similar concerns, which show how concerned and anxious the residents are feeling. For example, highway and parking issues restricting access for emergency vehicles. Waste issues, as more bins would be required than a normal family home and would be at the front of the property and stored in the only off-road parking spot, as there is no access to a bin storage area elsewhere. Over-occupation causing increased noise internally and externally, which is a major concern for the residents in the adjoining house. If there would be potentially 11 TVs or radios being used. The impact on local resources such as doctors and dentists, and I know that doesn't come into the planning, but that's one of the concerns of my residents. One that concerns myself and many others is the fire safety of any future unrelated residents who may reside there. Will there be sufficient emergency lighting, fire doors and fire barriers to adjoining properties be installed at this stage of the build? Will neighbouring properties whose garden borders meet up at the rear, triangular aspect of the garden, be expected to facilitate an escape route in an emergency, if indeed it is to be utilised for many unrelated persons in the future? If these neighbours feel their privacy has been diminished and decide to put higher fences up, how would this impact on anyone trying to get out of the house in an emergency? As the revised plans are not clear if the side extension is directly on the border between 72 Somerset Road, which would mean there is no path at the side of the property. The drawings still show on the gable end an exit door on the proposed side elevation, but if there's no path to the rear of the property, where is this door opening onto? If this is an error on the documents by the architects, if so, should this be resubmitted, as no external door is shown inside either of the 2 proposed bedrooms in the side extension? It should also be noted that I was informed the builder has already taken down a fence between the properties without consulting the residents. On driving round Norfolk Crescent yesterday, I noticed where other houses have extended to the side, which has been mentioned. Some still have a path with gates or doors to the front and back to aid a quick exit. Some have got garages underneath, and not all just plain as this one is. So if a quick exit was required to store bins in the back garden. There are also environmental issues due to the impact on trees sited on the boundary. If approved, the likelihood is that they might have to be removed, or they may even die off due to the close proximity of the walls of the proposed double extension. I was told by Mr Richards in planning that a great deal of work on a house can take place without planning permission, including internal works, as long as no works are taking place that require planning permission, for example, works on the building extension itself, and that planning cannot require the works to cease. But it will be appreciated by the residents living nearby if working restrictions could be imposed, as the builders have been turning up early, working late and working Saturdays and Sundays. On Agenda 8 paperwork at Section 9, it references visual amenity, but as many residents have pointed out, larger than normal waste bins at the front of the property would be there and wouldn't be very nice to look at. As mentioned in the comments, the housing estate itself was built for families, and due to the 2 outstanding Ofsted schools in the area, it should remain a family home to attract other families in. The late list today had information that 1 additional representation to object had been raised on the grounds of vehicle parking. It goes on to say no amendments are required to the original report since this matter is considered fully within Section 11, and this comment raises no additional issues. Was this decided on the basis mentioned in Section 12.4 of the agenda, which states the property is located close to the number 25 bus route from Trafford Centre to Stockport, which is apparently a minute's walk from the site. It goes on to say the existing parking situation and sustainable location of the site concludes that the proposed development is in accordance with Policy 9. But in fact, this statement is negated, as in fact this residence is near the corner of a very busy road, which is also a bus route for the 151, not the 25 bus. It goes from Failsworth to North Manchester, not from Trafford to Stockport. Just this week, a resident almost had an accident trying to exit in their car from Norfolk Crescent onto Somerset Road due to builders' vans blocking the view. Any more cars parked there would also restrict the views for pedestrians crossing, including the children going to school or playing out when they're trying to cross at the junction. Any further cars that may park there belonging to up to 11 residents would cause issues for residents and bus drivers on this route. Evidence of this is shown in East Failsworth, where Partington Street, Pole Lane, Ashton Road West currently have 6 HMOs, and surrounding residents were told there would be no increase in cars trying to park. This is a total fallacy, as there are many new cars now parking on an already full adjoining roads. I'd like to share a quote taken from a well-worded objection to an application in East Failsworth. Paragraph 8 of the National Planning Policy Framework looks at the economical, social and environmental aspects of sustainable development. The social aspect seeks to support strong, vibrant and healthy communities. Paragraph 91 goes on to state that decisions should aim to achieve healthy, inclusive and safe places which promote social interaction. Strong communities which promote social interaction can only achieve this when the individuals who live there have a vested interest in promoting the social interaction themselves. Developments such as this one largely appeal to individuals who are looking to live at the property for a short period of time and as a result have a diminished incentive to engage in positive social interaction. As there are limits on rents for houses that might be used for many unrelated persons, and landlords can use these developments purely as a source of income, they can maximise, whilst removing any affordable housing benefit. This would reduce the opportunities of individuals that live there to get onto the housing ladder. And as Councillor Hinds has said, and Councillor Hoban, that we have asked for an Article 4 direction in the past. There's in the Article 4 direction about small HMOs, it states that council instructs...
Sorry, Councillor Burke, can I just stop you there? Just to remind you, it's about the application on hand, which is about the extension.
Oh, sorry.
So
okay,
please disregard any potential things that might happen in the future. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine, Chair. Basically, what I'm trying to put about is that it shows that many residents right across the borough are concerned about the increase in the types of property. Policy 11 of Housing of the Oldham Local Development Plan states, all residential developments must be appropriate to the area. The Council will promote the delivery of mixed housing stock. This includes family housing, 3 bedrooms and above. Houses in multiple occupancy cannot be permitted unless it can be demonstrated that the proposal does not adversely affect the local character of the area, the residential and workplace amenity of current, future and neighbouring occupants, and traffic levels and the safety of road users. All of these are in the objections given about this application. One objection states, the scale of this development does not match the other houses in the neighbourhood, so it should be stopped before it ruins the character of a peaceful community in Failsworth and sets a precedent that could change the character of the whole area. Another objection states, Oldham Council need to ensure residents' views are acknowledged and the Council acts in the best interest of the people who live here in Failsworth and not greedy landlords. If this proposal is passed, it will open the floodgates for many more conversions like this in perfectly good family homes as they stand now. In summary, to change the use of this property would have a detrimental effect on the area, on the property and on local residents as they have long-standing community cohesion. These types of property conversions detract from this by bringing more transient residents in place of individuals who would be more likely to live in the area for a longer period of time and as a result have a greater incentive to participate more proactively as members of the local community. Social interaction is what builds strong communities, and strong communities significantly contribute to local character and sense of place. The potential for 11 unrelated people living in such a small place is not in keeping with this residential area, and I urge the Planning Committee to put conditions on its use to keep it as a residential home and not a home of multiple occupancy in the future. So therefore, I ask if a decision to grant this goes ahead, which will be a travesty, could a restriction be imposed to state if it is to be used for the purposes of multi-occupancy now or in the future and then consequently sold on, it must be converted back to a family home. On a final note, on behalf of my constituents, I must once again stress we need this house to remain a family home with only enough bedrooms to suit a family that would become part of this close-knit community and not have the potential to be utilised for multi-occupancy. So I urge the builder to reconsider his plans and help our community stay a community for our children and our children's children for many years to come. Thank you.
Well done, Sandra. You did put a lot of effort into that.
Thank you.
The thing I want to get clear here is we were talking about how many people could occupy this property. Now, there was talk before that it could be 6 people, I think was mentioned, or was mentioned by the, was it Sophie or somebody mentioned 6, and Sandra said potentially for 11. So can we have the correct figures what that would be? I mean, what I aimed at Sandra.
On the plans, it's showing that there's 5 double bedrooms and 1 single bedroom.
That's the whole point I'm making, Chair, there, is that if it is 11 people, then it could make a bit of a difference, couldn't it? But fewer people than that have been mentioned previously, so I'm just wondering.
So ultimately, what we're considering here is an extension to an existing house. There are houses that have 4, 5, 6 double bedrooms. You know, we can't consider in the context of this application about a householder extension. It's not about how many people are living there, because it's a house. It's an existing what we'd call C3 use class dwelling. Obviously, the considerations that people are worried about for the future, about a HMO and that kind of thing, if there were unrelated people in there, under permitted development rights, it could only convert to a HMO of up to 6 people, not 6 rooms, 6 people. So if the owner of this property in the future wanted to convert this property to a HMO of more than 6 people, they would need to seek planning permission for that.
Thank you. Councillor Hinds.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Councillor Ball for a passion on this and representing the community, which is clearly behind her sentiments. I'd just like to ask you, Councillor Ball, regarding the concerns in terms of health and safety with access potential risks, you know, for emergency services going forward to surrounding properties and stuff. Could you just elaborate a bit on that, why we should be concerned?
Yeah, and quite a lot of the residents have said because this property goes up to the boundary that there is no side access to it, and all those gardens converge onto this property. So if there was an emergency and at the front of the house, where are these residents going to leave? How are they going to exit it? You know, they've got a back door, they've got a front door. There is no other way for them to get out of that back garden because they all converge onto that triangle. I think there's about 4 gardens that converge there. And if these residents decided, which, you know, a couple of them have already said the privacy might be a bit more overlooked, they could potentially put bigger fences up. You know, it's their back garden, so they can go, I think it's 6 foot, they can go at the back. How would residents get over that if they had to leave the property quickly?
Councillor Gloucester.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ball, I'm just interested, obviously, we don't like it. We don't like HMOs, and this isn't going through as a HMO. So I'm just wondering on what is actually before committee this evening, what planning area would you expect us to object this proposal on, please?
I would say the fire safety, on the parking, you know, there's potentially is going to be more cars. There's 1 car parking space on that house. There used to be 2. You could park at the side and at the front of it. And it is on this very, very busy bus route. It's an area where the kids play out. You know, if you've got more cars and they're parking half on the pavement, half on the road. It's not a very wide road, you know. And what happens around that area is that they park on Norfolk Crescent and they also park on Somerset Road, and that goes into 2 bends.
Can I just come back?
Yeah.
That's not planning, that's not a reason to object to planning application. So with your experience as a councillor, what would you expect us to object on as a valid planning reason for objection?
Well, what I've read is that the parking is a major issue, and it's the road safety issue. That does become into it from what I've read. I may be wrong, and perhaps, you know, can we have clarity on that?
Not at this section. Obviously, you're here as a guest speaker, so the members in the committee can ask you questions.
But we still retain the right to vote against any proposal that comes before us. And therefore, if we vote as a majority against such a proposal, are you not obligated to fight against that proposal, irrespective of how difficult it might be? So what I'm suggesting is, and it's not a criticism, you seem to take the logical and easy option based on legislation or whatever, whereas we could ask you by vote to take the more difficult option and try to fight this application on appeal based on the views, whatever avenue they may be, unless you're going to tell me there's 0, which you haven't, in the interest of residents. So my view on it, because I'm going to express, is I'll be voting strongly against this, as strong as my heart can take. And I think the members who are sat with me should remember that you follow our instruction, we don't follow yours. Okay? Thank you.
Councillor Hinds, can I just remind you that the officers do a lot of work behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm not criticising the officers, and I respect and appreciate their hard work.
So in terms of the actual application, obviously they go through it thoroughly. They follow the legislations that's on hand. They follow the policies, national, local, etc., etc. And you're right, you're correct, that it's a recommendation, and it's up to us as a committee that is not whipped, that is not biased, to come to a conclusion based on the evidence at hand.
Excellent, thank you.
So I acknowledge the concern about this application being a HMO conversion by stealth, and I have personal misgivings about multiple occupation units. However, in response to that, it's been restated regularly that this is a householder application, and equally, I think we've struggled this evening to find legitimate planning reasons to oppose the application before us. However, my understanding from something that the head of planning said earlier was that a HMO application or a HMO conversion would require a separate application subsequent to this anyway. I think that was my understanding. So would it be the case that if these plans were approved, a HMO conversion in due course would be subject to the same device of democratic accountability that this application's been given? So I suppose my question is, can we be content as elected members on this planning committee that if these plans are approved, any HMO aspect down the line would also have some degree of democratic accountability, and these objections which have been raised tonight could be given again at that moment?
Thank you.
If ultimately, if this, once an extension is built and what have you, if the owner of this property wanted to convert it to a HMO, if it's a HMO for up to and including 6 people, it is permitted development. They would not need to seek a planning application from us. If it was a HMO for more than 6 people, they would need to submit an application.
I think we're all kind of on the same page here, aren't we? We know, we've got an idea of what's coming. We know what's needed for planning, and we understand the laws and what we have to do. But for the residents and for the councillors that are involved in this very emotive area tonight, we just need to be aware, don't we, that if this goes ahead, the issue of an HMO is an argument for another night, really, isn't it? It's for the residents to fight that cause when that comes on the table. I'm right in saying that. If this extension, the extension is being made as a normal extension, if the property is to be changed to an HMO, that will have to come before us, and a lot of the arguments that came up tonight will have to be addressed at that point. Am I right with that, Peter?
If the intention is to convert it to a HMO of up to 6 people, no, it wouldn't come. There wouldn't, because it wouldn't be an application that's permitted development. If it's more than 6 people, they would have to put an application in.
But just, sorry, Chair, I'm just going to jump back at Peter. As you mentioned before, I think it was Sandra said about there being 5 double rooms and 1 single room. Would that preempt the need for an application as an HMO, because we'd be looking at the possibility of 11 people? So where does that stand? At what point would they have to bring it back to us for an HMO?
Yeah, so ultimately, obviously it's for the owner to do the responsible thing and make sure they put in an application if it's for more than 6 people.
So we'll take the vote. All those in favour of the application going through? All those against? Any abstentions? Does that carry? Yep, I think that carries. Thank you very much.